Screen.
All right. I'll keep a lookout in the waiting room for you, Kayla. But all right. Thank you for joining everyone. As I was just saying, I'm super excited for this. I'm a firm believer that this is make or break for anyone's business. Um, in making sure not only are you delivering an amazing, client journey, but it truly eases a business owner's life in like
Yeah.
a million different ways. So, um, on that, Kayla, I think this is your second presentation you've done with us. Is that right? Or third?
No, I think it just feels like it because we've talked so much about this
Oh, is
stuff.
this
This
your
is my first
first?
one. Yeah.
Hey, oh my gosh. Okay. Wow. Well, welcome.
Thank
All
you.
right. With that, I'm going to hand it over to you. And yeah, let's get into this.
Amazing. Everyone can see my screen and it's
Yep.
full screen.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. So we're going to talk about how to use systems to get more done and without adding a whole other job to your plate, without burning out trying to get this all set up, and without toxic productivity, because I'm not about that life. I can't promise zero work, and I can't promise that you won't get sucked into systems and want to systematize your entire business in one weekend and have a breakdown. But if you set this up properly, it should support your business and make your life easier, not the other way around. So I'm going to move our faces so that I can see my slides. Okay. So if you don't know me, my name is Kayla Droog. I'm a business systems specialist and I work on back end business operations. I support service based business owners who want to create an amazing experience for their clients without working 24/7. And I believe that when you set them up right, systems don't have to be crazy and complicated. They can be simple and work for you and the way that you do things and the way you work. They can be your hidden superpower that keeps your business running even when you're sick or not in the office. And even if you don't feel like a tech person, tech doesn't have to be overwhelming. You just need to find the right things that work for the way that you do things and the way your brain works because not everyone's brain works the same. There's a lot of advice out there about what you need, what you should have, what's going to be the solution for you. I don't believe in that. I believe in each person finding their unique solution, and it doesn't have to look like anyone else's. Okay, I moved our faces to the wrong spot. All righty. So here's what I'm going to try to cover in the next 40-ish minutes. If I'm talking too fast, let me know because I have a tendency to speed up. So, we're going to talk about why systems matter for your business, what systems can do for you. I'm going to walk you through a quick exercise you can do to audit your time, a quick check in on your current systems. If you don't have much in place already in the way of systems, I'm going to tell you the 3 comfy systems that I recommend you start with and what to include in each of them. The basics you actually need to get started and not what people tell you you need. Some platform recommendations and areas people tend to miss when they're setting up these sorts of things. So, this is an ambitious agenda, but let's jump into it. What are systems? When I'm talking about systems, I don't necessarily mean complicated tech or funnels or fancy platforms. I really just mean repeatable processes for the things that you do day to day in your business that don't just live in your brain. This process needs to be written out somewhere, whether that's in a platform or in a standard operating procedure or something like that. You need to have a mapped out process that's repeatable because that's how you create consistency. That's how you eliminate confusion and overwhelm for yourself, for your team, and for your clients. When you have systems and processes in place, the goal is that you always know what you're doing, your team always knows what they're doing, and your clients always know what's going to happen next and what they need to do to keep moving forward with you. And I cannot say this enough. You don't need to be a techie person to make systems work for you. The majority of people that I work with come to me and say that tech makes them nervous and overwhelmed. And that's where we start, is by working on that, because that means that you have done tech the wrong way in the past, or someone has given you their cookie cutter process without actually teaching you how to use it. And you're not bad at tech, you've just been approaching it the wrong way. I come from an arts background, and now I'm in love with tech. You can do it too. Okay. So here's what life as a business owner looks like when you don't have the right systems or adequate systems supporting you. You're probably constantly retyping the same emails because people are sending you the same questions over and over again, but you don't have anything in place to deal with that. You might be customizing your emails, your quotes, your invoices for every lead or client in your business. I don't mean having clients coming in and you're picking and choosing which of your services that you're doing for them. I mean, coming up with an entire package and pricing structure from scratch for each person. I think there's a lot of people who start that way when they start their business. I know I started that way. And man, if I could go back and whack myself over the head with a newspaper, I would. So you might be forgetting to follow up with leads if you don't have a system in place for that. You're probably spending all of your energy managing the chaos, or at least you feel like you're spending all of your energy managing the chaos. Everything feels urgent. Everything feels crazy at all times. And you feel like you're never, ever, ever getting to the stuff you actually want to be doing, that you started your business to do in the first place, because all you're doing is trying to keep your head above water every day. Guys, I made a mistake alternating sides for each slide because now I need to move our faces every time. Okay, so here's what life looks like when you have good systems in place that can still be simple. You're going to save time. You're going to reduce your stress. You're going to create consistency, a consistent, supportive experience for your leads and your clients, but without sacrificing that personal connection. That's a thing that people are worried about, especially when it comes to automation, is that it's going to make their business sound robotic. You're going to lose that personal touch. But there are ways to balance it and get the best of both worlds without having to personally answer every email. Systems are going to help you stay on top of your leads so that you're actually following up with them and converting more of them into paying clients. And it's going to help you create more connection with the clients you already have, so they want to keep coming back and working with you, so that they refer you to other people, and so that they give you amazing testimonials that you can use everywhere. And the best part about business systems is that you can spend more time doing the work you actually enjoy, that you're actually good at. And it makes things easier to delegate and outsource tasks to your team and to contractors and stuff as well. All right. So this is an exercise you're going to want to come back to later. But let me explain how this works. So in order to know which systems are the most urgent for your business right now, what's going to move the needle the most, save you the most time, save you the most stress, I recommend doing a time audit exercise. So I know the term audit sounds scary, but I promise this isn't that bad. So if you don't already track your time in your business, I recommend doing that for at least a week so that you can see where your time is going. So if you don't do that, this is going to be a little bit of a pain, but I promise it's worth it. So use a spreadsheet or use something like Clockify or Toggle. I have a free Toggle account and I use it to track all of my time in my business. And so when you start a task, you start the timer. When you're done that task, you stop the timer, and then so on for all your tasks. And then because as business owners, every day in our business is different. You need to track this for at least a week so that you actually have an accurate representation of where your time is going. So you want to look for the tasks that keep repeating, even when they maybe don't need to. And the tasks that you're not good at, I invite you to be gently honest with yourself. What are the things that are maybe not entirely in your wheelhouse? What are the things you just don't enjoy doing? The things that you dread every time, the things that you put off, the things where when stuff gets busy and something's got to give, that's the thing that you always let go of. And then in contrast, you want to identify what are the things that only you can do? What are the things that need your expertise, your language? What are the things only you can do? And then look at those things that are repetitive or that you're not good at or that you don't enjoy doing and decide what could be automated, what could be delegated to somebody else. And if you identify things that could be automated or that are repetitive but could be made smoother, that's where you start with your systems. And then also be honest with yourself. Is there anything you don't actually need to be doing right now? Is there something that could be put on the back burner? Is there something you could let go of entirely? This is a bit of a hefty exercise, but it's so worth it to take the temperature of how things are actually going in your business right now, because sometimes our perception of what we're spending the most time on is not actually the reality of where our time is going. And when you actually have a timer tracking what you're doing, you realize which things are expanding to take up more time than you ever expected and where you're unfocused. And yeah, it's just a good exercise all around. Okay. So one of the things that this exercise is going to help you identify are the time leaks in your business. So from an administrative standpoint, places that I often see people spending too much time are appointment scheduling. So going back and forth over email with people to set up an appointment when you could just send them a calendar link and have them book and be done with it. Making custom quotes for everyone and answering the same questions over and over again. Again, I understand wanting to send a personalized response to everyone, but especially if this is a person who is not a paying client yet, that may not be the best use of your time. And with leads, what I see happen is when people get overwhelmed with the rest of their business, they're slow to respond to leads or they don't follow up with them at all because they don't have a system in place to do that. So that's when you stop getting as many people converting to paying clients. With clients, I see people with an inconsistent onboarding process or no onboarding process. And a lot of people don't have an offboarding process really. And I recommend having one for everybody. We're going to talk about that later. And when you are overwhelmed with time leaks everywhere, with a team, sometimes this leads to micromanaging because you're worried about what everybody else is doing and you're spending all of your time looking over their shoulders, or you're spending all of your time putting out fires. So we don't want any of this. Let's talk about a different way to do things. So we invite you to come back to these questions later as well. This is a quick check-in with your current process, your current systems, just to see what you already have in place, what's working and what isn't. So, do you currently have a standard way that you handle leads and inquiries and you follow up with them to convert them into clients? Do you have a consistent experience for every client that comes into your business? Do you have a standard way that you onboard them and welcome them and nurture them in your business? Do you have consistent packages and pricing? Again, we can have quotes that have different items people can choose from, but do you have standardized pricing for all of those items, or do you change things all the time for people? And an important thing to identify is where people are falling off in your process, where people get stuck, where people disappear, where you end up having to spend more attention than you want to, because that's where you start setting up systems. So if I was starting over today, here's where I would start. I would create a lead response system for new people coming into my business and contacting me. I would create an onboarding system for new clients. And I would create a consistent process to offboard people. And don't worry, I'm going to talk about what all of these things mean. So, a lead response system. This one might be my favorite because it's what I help people with the most, because it's a good place to start. So, to have a lead response system, this is just a way for someone reaching out to you to get a response quickly so they know exactly what they need to do to move forward in the process of becoming a client. To do that, you really just need some sort of inquiry form for them to fill out, an automated response when they fill out that form, maybe a scheduling link in that email that tells them where to book a call if you do calls, and some templates for follow-up emails so that you can nurture those people a little bit if they don't move forward. That's it. It doesn't have to be complicated. People try to make these things more complicated than they need to be. And I don't like to work that way. That's what makes people overwhelmed by tech. So, here's some tools that you can use to actually put these things in place. I highly recommend a CRM platform. CRM stands for Client Relations Management. Examples of this are 17 Hats, Dubsado, Honeybook, Monday.com has one. There's lots out there. These are the three I work with the most, but that doesn't mean they are the only ones I recommend. So not everyone is at a point in their business where they can afford a platform like this. But if you can, if you have enough revenue and clients coming into your business, it really can be worth it to have one of these platforms to help you manage your leads and clients. You can do appointment bookings through these platforms. You can do automation. You can manage all your client files there. You can do invoices, contracts, questionnaires. So these platforms have a lot of capabilities that are really helpful. But if you are not there yet, you can set up a lead response system with just a Google form and maybe Calendly or Acuity for people to book calls with you. You won't be able to automate your responses, but you'll at least be able to collect responses. You can also do that through an embedded form on your website that just emails you every time somebody fills it out. There are ways to do this without paying for a fancy platform. You can also have people fill out a form that goes to your email marketing platform if you have one of those. The only thing with that is that it's not going to notify you when someone fills out the form unless you turn your notifications on, which Meredith and I were talking about before. Don't do that. It's too many notifications. But you can at least have someone fill out a form and get an automated response that way through your email marketing platform. So platforms that I like are MailerLite, ConvertKit, Flowdesk. You might be attracted to MailChimp. I hate MailChimp, but that's an entire other presentation, and we're not going to go into that. Okay. So once you have your lead response system set up, you're going to need a way to onboard people who agree to become clients. To do that, you really just need a contract. If you use a contract or an agreement in your business, which you should, but not everybody does, a way to collect payment. And I encourage you to have some sort of welcome email or welcome kit or kickoff checklist or something like that so that they know what's going to happen. This is your opportunity to set clear expectations for your clients, which means they will have fewer questions, less confusion. They'll know what they're doing, they'll know what you're doing, and you'll create consistency and build trust with them. Again, this doesn't have to be complicated. You can do all of these things through your CRM platform if you have one. If you just want to go directly from your payment processor, you can do that with something like Stripe or PayPal and just send people invoices from there. You can use your email marketing platform to send people that welcome email or that onboarding package if you need to, if you don't have automation capabilities elsewhere. And in terms of free options for contracts and agreements, I think I used all of these when I first got started. So Square, that's not to be confused with Squarespace. Square, like Square Reader, you can accept payments through there and send contracts through there. You can send contracts through DocuSign. You can send contracts through PandaDoc. There's tons of ways to get people to sign documents for you electronically without breaking the bank for it. Okay. This is the part of the process that makes me excited because people forget about it. So, at the end of a project, at the end of a coaching container, and if you have ongoing clients, even periodically every like 3 to 6 months, maybe, you're not necessarily going to send a wrap up email in that case, but I would check in with people, see how things are going, send a request for a testimonial. You don't have to wait till your relationship with somebody is over to request a testimonial. But depending on what your business looks like, at the end of your relationship, send them a wrap up email, send them any final deliverables, request that testimonial, invite them to rebook. Maybe you have another offer that would be good for them at this point, or maybe your business doesn't work like that, but this is a good opportunity to maybe ask for a referral. So many people skip this or get nervous about this, and I really do believe that that leads to missed opportunities. And honestly, the only people that I wouldn't send these requests to are people that you had a bad experience with. Um, if you think that somebody would leave you a bad review or just something weird happened, okay, skip those people. But everybody else is fair game. And if you add an automated or systematized request for a testimonial into your process, you don't even really have to think about it. It just goes out. Maybe it has your link to leave a Google review in it, and there you go, done. If you really need reviews in your business, you could include a follow-up email in that process to follow up with people who maybe said they were going to leave a review and then didn't do it. Because I don't know about you, but think about the number of times that you mean to do something and then you open the message or the email and you can't do it in that moment, and then it's now marked as unread and you never come back to it again. So don't be afraid to gently follow up with people. So again, you can do this through one of those CRM platforms. You could do this through a Google form. I would do um, a form over a Google review link if you want feedback, not just a review, or if you are really worried about somebody saying something potentially not that great and now you can't remove it from your Google profile, you could have them fill out a form instead so that you have control of what goes up online. Although the advantage of a Google review over you posting things manually is that it's attached to their account, so it has a little bit more credibility. But both methods are good. And then again, this is something you can send out through your email marketing platform if you don't have something else. I love automations in email marketing platforms, which is part of my beef with MailChimp. I promised I wasn't going to go into it, so I'm not. Okay. So here's what you actually need to get started if you don't have any of these things right now. Somewhere that you can host a form, whether that's a CRM platform, a Google form, a form right in your like Squarespace or Wix website or whatever it is you're using, or a form that connects to your email marketing platform. Now, the only downside about using an embedded form that connects to your email marketing platform is that you can't collect a lot of data with that. It's mostly just contact information. If you need more information about people, about their business or their lifestyle or whatever it is that you do, I would recommend using a form from one of the other places so that you can collect more information from them. I also highly recommend having some sort of scheduler for appointments so that you are not doing that manually. And to get started, at least with a system for your leads process, you really only need a few canned emails, some sort of thanks for reaching out, here's what you need to do next email, and then a couple of follow-ups for people who don't move forward. It doesn't have to be complicated. Having a CRM platform or an email marketing platform is optional. Depending on what you're using, you might need something called Zapier, which helps connect the dots. Zapier is just a platform that helps two things that don't talk to each other normally talk to each other. So it can take contact information from one platform and automatically add someone to your mailing list, things like that. So I find that it's a super handy tool because not everything is designed to work together, but there's ways that we can make them work together anyway. Okay. See, this doesn't have to be scary. This is not a huge, complicated funnel, right? Let's talk about things people miss because this is the stuff that keeps me up at night on people's behalf. So I have talked to so many people who have said, okay, like I have an okay process for onboarding people. And then I mean to check in with them regularly after that, but it doesn't usually happen. I keep meaning to set up templates for check-ins or extra resources to send them to know that I'm thinking of them, and then I just don't do it. I highly recommend setting up regular check-ins throughout a project. Again, this depends on what your business looks like, but if you have a project-based business or you have an event-based business, maybe someone books with you 6 to 12 months before you're actually delivering your service. Or even for businesses where you're working with someone on an ongoing basis, you should have regular check-ins. Your only time that you're in contact should not be when one of you needs something from the other. So this could just be adding them to your your email marketing platform where there's an automation set up that periodically sends them something helpful, like a blog post or a podcast or something like that. It doesn't have to be complicated. This could be automated emails that are just like, hey, it's been 3 months. How's everything going? Do you need anything? Like, it doesn't have to be fancy, but even just that tiny bit of contact makes your relationship with your clients so much better without being a heavy lift for you. I recommend setting up some sort of automation to automatically add new contacts to your email list if you don't do that already. Again, that's something Zapier is great for. If you have a CRM platform that people are signing up on and then they get automatically added to your email list, perfect. People miss actually asking for testimonials. We already talked about that. And people get so sucked into making everything perfect and personalized and the details. And sometimes they don't see the forest for the trees. I recommend figuring out your framework first, what the process actually looks like that you want to set up, because not everyone is going to exactly fit this process. And that's okay. This is not meant to be cookie cutter. So if this doesn't work for you, you need to map out what actually does before you start setting anything up. I have talked way faster than I expected to. Okay. So I highly, highly, highly recommend that you start thinking about systems before you're ready. Because the truth is, you're never going to feel like you're ready. And you're not going to feel like you're ready until you are overwhelmed. And by that point, it's a little bit too late. It's not too late. It's not impossible to set up systems at that point. It's just going to be so much harder. So if you are at the point in your business where all you're doing every day is putting out fires and you can't keep your head above water, the idea of setting up systems at that point is just overwhelming, because I've had people come to me at that point and then systems are so much of a struggle. So the first thing that you need to figure out is what that process actually looks like for you. In an ideal world, what would each step of the process in your business be? How does your brain actually work? So is it worth having? I just realized there's people in the chat this whole time. Cool. If I'll get to that in a sec. If you are setting up an automation and part of that automation is to send you reminders when something needs to happen, do you actually look at those reminders? Are they the nudge that you need, or do they make you overwhelmed? Do you ignore them? And then every time you log into your platform, you have a backlog of notifications and it just makes you feel worse. If yes, then that's not the process for you. You need to figure out another way to remind yourself or support yourself to get those things done. So not every system is going to work for every brain or every way of doing things. Having so many systems, you're struggling to connect. Yeah. So if you have too many systems, if they don't play nicely with each other, like I have come into situations where people just have too much happening. They're trying to do all the things all at once. And there is such a thing as doing too much in your business. There is such a thing as overcomplicating it for yourself. And I believe in streamlining things. I sometimes strip things back with people and then build it back up again the right way, because I've had so many people where they copied someone else's system, they copied someone else's templates, and then they started trying to use it themselves and they realized, oh, that is not actually the way I do things. And now I'm confused and overwhelmed, and I don't know how to fix this. And I don't know what to delete because I'm afraid of getting rid of anything that I might need later. And I don't know how to make this work for me. And now my platform's a mess. So you don't need fancy tech or fancy processes to get started, but you do need a framework. I believe in getting clarity now at the point where you have the time to think about it and not when you're overwhelmed, because that's going to make growing your business later easier. You might have to switch platforms over time as you grow. But if you have that foundational framework in place, the platform that you're using doesn't matter because you're just following your process. And I believe in starting small, starting with one process at a time rather than trying to set up all of this all at once. So I typically recommend people start with the leads process of their business because that's where people tend to be leaking a lot of time. And I particularly recommend that because those are the people who aren't paying you yet. So the majority of your time should not be going to those people. You want them to become clients, but you also want to be devoting a lot of your attention to the people who are already paying you. I don't know why. Oh, it's because I clicked to my other screen to see the comments. There we go. Okay. So, as I mentioned, oh, cool. This basically was the rant I just went on. So, there is no one size fits all for everybody. That's why I offered multiple platform choices for everything, because I don't say this is the one and only platform everybody needs. That's just not how I work. I help people figure out what they need. So choose what fits the way you run your specific business and what works for your brain. I keep mentioning that because I am neurodivergent. So my brain doesn't work the way everyone else's brain does. And sometimes what works to support somebody else's business makes me go, oh, absolutely not. When you are thinking about platforms, think about what you already have before you get something else. And if there's another platform you're considering, does it integrate with what you already have? Is it going to fit into the ecosystem you already have set up? Does it directly connect to the platforms you already have, or does it work with Zapier? There are things that don't work with Zapier. What was I trying to set up recently? And I was shocked to learn it wasn't available. Oh, someone had a blog on Substack and they wanted to connect it to something else, and Zapier does not acknowledge that Substack exists. So that was fun.
Another big
Go.
one, just for the purpose, I don't think anyone here right now, but for people rewatching this, one for like mental health is Jane. It's a
Mm-hmm.
CRM and it doesn't integrate with Zapier,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Yeah.
Although it has a lot of capabilities right in the
Yes.
platform.
Yeah.
So
Hence
you
the
may or
price.
may not need
Yeah.
a lot of other things to go
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
Um, I invite you to go with the tool that actually does what you need, not what's the most popular, not what everyone else is telling you to get. Do the free trials. So many of them have free trials so that you can actually try them out. And no matter which platform you choose, there is going to be a learning curve of some sort. I'm sorry, there is no way to get around that. But there's a difference between I just can't wrap my mind around how this platform works and something that is stretching you but doable. I'm a nerdy weirdo. So last week I just got a new online course platform and I was so excited to dive in and figure out how it worked. And there was my weekend gone. But not everyone's brain works like that. So I don't expect you to be excited to learn how something works, but it is worth the investment if it's going to be the right tool for your business. Unfortunately, systems are like everything else in life, they do need maintenance. If you're doing systems the right way, it's mostly set it and forget it, but it does need a check in. I recommend checking in at least quarterly, making sure the links in anything automated are still working, making sure the process that you've set up is still relevant to your business and the services that you're offering and the way that you're doing things. And like we talked about, are you actually using everything that you have set up? Because if you do have all of those overdue notifications piling up in your platform, that's a sign that something's wrong and needs to be changed. And anytime you change your offer or your business direction or your goals, that's when your systems need to be tweaked to keep up. Because I also have a lot of people who had something that worked at one time and then they come to me because their business has changed and what they had set up just isn't doing it anymore. That's normal. That if that's not happening, then I'm concerned because your business is just staying static and it shouldn't be. If at the very least your pricing should be changing periodically. Okay. So, we're basically on time. Amazing. So, the key things that I invite you to remember: start small. Do not try to do all of this at once. Um, you're probably not a crazy tech nerd like me who just wants to take up your evenings and weekends setting up a new platform. I don't recommend that. I did not get much sleep. I don't recommend it. But if you start small, if you prioritize the repeatable tasks and processes, the things that are the bottleneck in your business right now, or the most painful thing, or the thing that is driving you the most crazy right now, those are the places to start. Done is better than perfect. You're going to tweak these systems over time as you actually start using them with real people. So don't worry about getting them entirely perfect right off the bat. That's just how things go. You're going to modify them as you see how they work in practice. And remember that businesses are supposed to evolve over time. So your systems are going to evolve with you, whether that's new workflows or new platforms. That's what you need as you grow. All right. I've put my website and my email here. If you have any questions about anything, feel free to reach out to me. And then who has questions right now?
I have a few comments and a few things I'm hoping you can speak to, but I'll let anyone else go first. Does anyone have anything? No? Okay. Um, okay, where should I start? This conversation around the lead process is something I have with our clients constantly, obviously, because we need to house whatever that is on their website, right?
Yeah.
And so I find I get into conversations where I'm sort of asking a lot of these questions that you're asking, like, hey, in a perfect world, what do you want somebody to do on your website? And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, I'd love them to book a call,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, okay, great. Do you have a scheduler? No. But I don't want a scheduler because I don't want calls coming in whenever. Um, and so I find that there is a huge misconception with, I guess they're not realizing the power and ability to customize a scheduler.
Yes.
So I'm hoping, again, for the purposes of, this crew or people watching this back, to set what's the saying? Set the ground straight? No. What is
Set the
that
record
saying?
straight.
Set things straight that
Yeah.
how schedulers, there is so much customization that you can apply to
So
it.
much.
You're in so much control, and how it's sort of the opposite to what people think when we say, you could really use the scheduler. And they're like, that opens up my whole world. And I'm like, actually, your whole world is open up right now, right? Could you
Yeah,
speak to that and set the record
100%.
straight?
Yes, set the record straight. I am happy to do that.
Yes.
So, yes, everyone needs a scheduler, and you are not just giving people free access to your calendar and letting them book whenever. You have complete control over your availability, and you, depending on what scheduler you're using and whether you have a free account or a paid account, you can even set up separate services to have their own schedule. So, for example, if you only want to do discovery calls on Wednesdays between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., you can do that. If you want to be open for client calls, or I don't know, maybe you are um, an interior designer and you do like in-person appointments at somebody's home, like you can set up all of these things separately with their own rules, their own days of the week, their own parameters. You can set how far in advance people are allowed to book. So for my own scheduler, no one is allowed to book less than 24 hours in advance so that I always have notice. Um, I don't typically allow people to book more than 30 days in the future because why would they need to? And I even have settings on how many calls of a certain type I will take in 1 week. So if something, like I will sometimes offer business strategy sessions for people, and those are a little more intense and in depth, and I have prep work and follow-up work, and I really only want to do like 2 or 3 of those in 1 week. So I've set up that parameter with my scheduler, and I've set it up so that I can only have one of those in one day. Like there's so much customization, and depending on what calendar you regularly use to run your business, I'm pretty sure all of them link to Google. It's more challenging if you use Apple, but there are ones that connect to Apple as well. Apple doesn't like to play well with other technologies, but there are ways to get around it. So, and people also come to me concerned because they have a team and people need to book appointments with their team. There are ways to do that as well and have it connect to like a shared Google Calendar or something so that your team gets access to that information too. Like there is, I have yet to come across a situation where we couldn't come up with some sort of solution if you really wanted to use a scheduler.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the sync. By the way, I use Dubsado and the scheduler and I use iCal. So, but
Yeah,
you know, the syncing with the calendar is so important because like sure, you in your hypothetical, you might take discovery calls 10 to 4 on Wednesdays, but maybe you have a dentist appointment.
yeah,
So that's in the calendar. So it's just not available
yeah.
to be able, right? So when I book in, say, a dentist appointment, I actually add a buffer before and after so that there's no issue. But anyways, I find that there's a ton of misconception
So
around
much.
what a scheduler will do to your life in a bad way. When, as I said, it's sort of total opposite.
Total opposite.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
mine so much.
Yes, same, exactly. And what I also love too is I have certain meetings that are phone calls and I have certain meetings that are Zoom. I can integrate Zoom. So once that meeting's booked, the Zoom link's done, it's sent out. Like I don't touch any of that. It's
Same. And
completely
my
right.
platform, I run my scheduler through 17 Hats. It works similar to the Dubsado one.
Yeah,
It sends out automated reminder emails the
right.
day before and the day of the meeting and includes that unique Zoom link that it set up when the appointment was booked too. So it's all completely hands off.
Yes,
And for mine, depending on the type of call, I can add questions that they have to answer in booking the call. So I use that for discovery calls so that I get information about their business. And you can also, depending on which scheduler you're using, if you charge for a certain type of call, you can set it up so that they have to make that payment at the time of booking as well.
exactly. Exactly. Or even a deposit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, amazing. And then the other things, and this is probably very specific through my lens of what it is that I do,
Yeah.
but um, if you're thinking about your business and your brand hierarchy, so what I mean by that is like, there's more than three, but the three main ones we have mass market, which would be like your Walmarts, okay? Then you have premium, that might be like your, I don't know, Banana Republic. And then you have luxury, which would be like your Chanel, okay?
Mhm.
And so through brand strategy, you should know where your business falls.
Yeah.
And pending the answer of that, um, that should dictate the level, I don't want to say complexity from like a tech standpoint, but like the touch points and what they look
Yes.
like and how the ease of things. Like if you call yourself premium or luxury, but you don't have a contract, or I have to print something off because you're not investing in something that I can e-sign, there's a disconnect on what you're saying you are versus what you're actually delivering. And so you need to ensure that every single touch point is truly aligned with your brand. Does that make sense?
If you think of your business as premium or luxury, but you manually respond to leads contacting your business and they have to wait a minimum of 48 hours before they get a response from their initial touch point, that is not a luxury experience.
Correct. Correct. Exactly. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to make sure that, that thought process was considered if,
Absolutely.
right?
And and honestly, even if you don't market yourself as a luxury business, I still think you need all of these things. I think every business can benefit from these things. Like I
Not sustainable if you don't.
right. So
Like,
like
yeah,
I market myself from a standpoint of I want to help people create businesses that are sustainable and actually feel comfortable and maybe dare I say it fun to run every day
right.
and that are simplified down to the actual things you really need. And I'm not necessarily marketing that as a luxury experience, but I'm still creating that luxury experience, whether I call it that or not. And that's still a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, and I can totally relate to when I first started my business. I came from corporate where, systems and processes are literally handed over to you, right? So you just have
Yeah.
somebody who's training you on it. So it was sort of already ingrained in me. Okay, I need to create this, but that's on me, which was fine. And naturally, I'm Googling free contract software, free scheduler, right? And so, which
Yes.
everyone is probably nodding, like I did the exact same thing.
Yep.
But then I quickly realized this is way more work using these free platforms that don't talk to one another. I'm like, this is a disaster. So then again, brand new, so green, I'm Googling, I don't even know what words I was using to Google, to be
Right.
honest, because I don't even think I had the words. And then that's how I started to discover the Dubsados and the Honeybooks and all of that, and then ultimately landed on Dubsado. But I set that up within 6 months of starting my business. So I was a
Yeah.
lot slower. Um, I remember taking like 2 weeks off in the summer, not doing anything else other than watching YouTube videos of Dubsado people and, setting it all up. But I 100% believe it should be done and included if you're like, if when you're considering foundational investments in a business, it comes with website, it comes with brand, it's all in there. It's not a second phase.
It it is like a fairly one-stop shop. That is the advantage. So it there is sticker shock up front, but it's so worth it in my opinion. Like I can't imagine running my business now without those capabilities.
Mhm.
And you're right. When you have like created this like crazy quilt of all of these
Yeah,
like free platforms just to avoid paying for something, okay, it's free, but how much time are you wasting jumping between all those different platforms and trying to make them work together and trying to remember what you were doing where and everything. Like it is
Well,
worth it
and
to
the
upgrade when you can
experience,
afford to.
yeah, like, and the experience for the client is like, it's a pain, right?
Yeah.
I remember getting a contract I had to print
Oh
and
my God.
only about a year and a half ago, and I was like, this is a
Ugh,
red flag,
that hurts me.
red flag. I can't. Um, and what was I gonna say? Oh shoot, I lost it.
Go to best investment. Dubsado. Dubsado's a good
Oh,
one.
that's what I was gonna say. So, it's an interest, the sticker shock. I don't want to scare people. Like, I didn't have sticker shock. I thought it was like, are like what? Start the car, add to cart immediately. 500, I think it was $600 a year
Yeah.
for an entire system to run my business. I was like, that's a no-brainer.
And some of these platforms have like a Black Friday sale where you can get it for half off for the year. I do that with 17 hats. So it
Yeah.
is sticker shock where it's so expensive that you go, oh, I can't afford paying that up front.
Yeah.
Um, like I know 17 hats has a Black Friday sale where I get it for $300 for the year. So um these platforms have sales. Um, I would say in terms of what I recommend, Dubsado and 17 hats are fairly I love that. Are fairly even with each other. I find 17 hats has slightly more capabilities on the tech side, but Dubsado looks prettier. So if it's a priority for you to have like your contracts and questionnaires and everything have a certain aesthetic, then Dubsado might be for you. If you're good with things that are serviceable but have less customization visually, but a little bit more robust on the tech side, then 17 hats might be for you.
Mhm.
Eye candy is great. Um, I I find that Dubsado can have a tiny bit more of a learning curve, but that's just how my brain works. It may not be the same for you.
Does
But
anyone?
they're both excellent comparable platforms. Honeybook is slightly less capable, but
Mhm.
some people go for that first because it's slightly cheaper. Sorry, Meredith, I cut you off.
No, I was just going to see if anyone else has questions. I just want to be conscious of the time.
Yeah.
Hmm, all good? Okay. I will be sending out the recording and your presentation. I know our faces cover up the presentation. I have no idea how to fix that. So that's why I always like to send out the presentation as well. But Kayla's contact information will be in there, and you guys can reach out. She's always so great. I'm always like, I'd like to pick your brain, please.
And I'm like, yes, please talk systems
Yeah,
to me.
yeah. Figure it out together for sure. So, okay, amazing. Well, everyone, enjoy your day. Thank you so much, Kayla. I know this has planted a lot of seeds and probably there's some wheels in motion in everyone's mind. So, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Okay, bye.